The Surge. I went into it thinking, okay, another sci-fi post-apocalyptic action RPG. But it's so much more than that. The whole concept of this broken-down, futuristic factory setting is just awesome. It's gritty, industrial, and feels like everything is falling apart, which really adds to that sense of desperation as you're trying to survive. And honestly, the world building is better than I expected. You slowly uncover bits of the story as you explore, and the more you dig, the more you realize just how messed up everything is. Now, I've got to talk about the combat because that's really the star of the show here. It's tough, methodical, and every fight feels like it could be your last. But here's the twist that sets it apart. The whole targeting limbs mechanic. It's genius. You don't just hack and slash randomly. You're strategically aiming for enemy body parts. Want that awesome new arm gear? You better take it from your enemy. It makes every encounter feel like a high-stakes chess match, where you're constantly weighing the risk of going for the kill or trying to grab new loot. And the exosuit? Such a cool feature. It feels like you're wearing this clunky, powerful piece of machinery, and as you upgrade it, you can feel yourself getting stronger. But at the same time, the enemies ramp up in difficulty, so you're never too comfortable. It keeps you on your toes, for sure. Plus, the suit customization adds a ton of variety to the gameplay. So, yeah, The Surge is a gem. Mad Max. So, I recently had the chance to spend some time with Mad Max, and let me tell you, it's an experience that truly stands out. The game captures the raw, gritty essence of the Mad Max universe so well that it feels like you're right in the heart of that post-apocalyptic wasteland. One of the first things that hit me was the attention to detail in the environment. The desolate landscapes and towering sandstorms are crafted with such precision that they almost feel alive. It's like every corner of the world has a story to tell, and exploring it becomes an adventure in itself. Upgrading and customizing your car, the magnum opus, is an absolute blast. There's something incredibly satisfying about tearing through enemies with a fully upgraded, heavily armed vehicle. And the thrill of high-speed chases and explosive battles really keeps you on the edge of your seat. The narrative is another strong point. Max's journey, filled with intense personal struggles and high-stakes encounters, is engaging from start to finish. It's not just about surviving, it's about finding purpose in a world that's gone mad. The characters you meet along the way, each with their own quirks and backstories, add depth to the story. What's more, the game does a great job of balancing action with exploration. There's always something to discover, whether it's hidden loot, side quests, or just interesting details in the environment. It encourages you to take your time and really soak in the world around you. The combat mechanics are solid. Stray. When I first saw this game, I thought it was just going to be a charming little game where you play as a cat, exploring a futuristic city. But as I spent more time with it, I discovered it's so much more than that. It's like stepping into an emotional adventure through the eyes of a stray cat navigating a post-apocalyptic world. First off, being a cat in a video game feels surprisingly freeing. There's something deeply satisfying about hopping across rooftops, squeezing through tight spaces, and knocking over random objects just for the fun of it. The game nails the physicality of a cat. Every move feels so fluid and lifelike. It makes you think about how the world looks from their perspective, so close to the ground, yet always agile and in control. The world building in Stray is amazing. It's this blend of cyberpunk and decay, full of neon lights and towering buildings, but also a deep sense of isolation. The city itself feels alive, not in the way you'd expect, but more like it's holding its breath. You meet these small robots along the way, and they're oddly human in their interactions with you, despite being machines. They add a lot of heart to the game. There's a sense of community among them, and you can't help but feel drawn into their lives. The story unravels slowly, but it's layered with meaning. It touches on themes of companionship, survival, and hope in a broken world. The bond you develop with the small drone B-12 is touching in a way I didn't expect. It's funny how a game about a cat, without any dialogue from the main character, can be this emotional. Watch Dogs. You remember Watch Dogs? The first one? I feel like it doesn't get enough love. It's funny because when it first came out, everyone was hyped about the whole hacking thing. Yeah, it didn't fully live up to the insane expectations, but looking back, it was actually a pretty solid game. What really pulled me in was the whole idea of controlling the city with your phone. Like, you could hack traffic lights, cameras, basically turning the entire city of Chicago into your personal playground. There's just something so satisfying about sneaking into an enemy base and never even having to fire a shot. Just using cameras and distractions to mess with people. It made me feel like this tech-savvy mastermind. Aiden Pierce is a little brooding, and not the most charismatic character out there, but I kinda liked that about him. He felt like this guy driven by grief, and everything he did had this personal weight to it. I also loved how the city of Chicago itself felt alive. It's not just a backdrop, it reacts to what you're doing. If you cause too much chaos, people call the cops. And then you've got this whole cat-and-mouse chase through the streets, dodging police cars and helicopters. I had so many moments where I barely escaped by hacking a drawbridge or raising blockers just in time. The adrenaline rush from those moments was legit. I think it's one of those games that's way better than people remember. It had a fresh take on open-world action, with the whole hacking twist that really made it stand out. If you haven't played it in a while, I'd say give it another shot. It's got this cool, techie, modern, vigilante vibe. Nier Automata, one of those games that didn't exactly explode onto the scene when it first launched, but ended up becoming a cult classic. If you've never played it, at first glance it might seem like just another action RPG. But this game much more than that. It's one of those titles that, once you dive in, completely pulls you in with its depth themes and that emotional roller coaster of a story. But here's the thing. When it first came out, not a lot of people were talking about it. Sure, it had fans, but it didn't immediately blow up like some big AAA game. Part of that might be because the original was kind of niche and never really became a mainstream hit. So it had this uphill battle where people weren't sure if it was worth checking out. The game is weird. And I say that in the best possible way. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't give you a typical RPG experience, and the story can get really out there. You've got androids questioning the meaning of life, robots acting like humans, existential dread, and more than a few mind-bending plot twists. For some players, it was a little too philosophical. It's not afraid to get deep and ask big questions. And that can be off-putting if you're just looking for a straightforward action game. Then there's the whole multiple endings thing. It doesn't just have a single ending, it has like 26 of them. Now, most of those are joke endings, but to get the full story, you actually have to play through the game multiple times, seeing it from different perspectives. Some people love that. It's one of the game's strengths, but others didn't really want to replay the same sections to uncover the whole narrative. Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. This game is seriously underrated and deserves way more love. Imagine an open-world action game set in the bustling streets of Hong Kong, where you play as an undercover cop tangled up in the city's dangerous criminal underworld. It's like GTA, but with a unique twist that really sets it apart. And let's not forget the driving. Sleeping Dogs has some of the most fun driving mechanics out there. It's super arcadey, and you can do crazy stunts, hijack cars on the go, and even ram other cars off the road. There's something so satisfying about zooming through the city, dodging traffic, and knowing you can hop out at any time to start a fistfight. The city is alive with neon lights, crowded markets, and tons of little side activities that make it feel so authentic. You can go sing karaoke. Yes, karaoke. Try your luck at street races, or just cruise around and soak in the atmosphere. The developers did a fantastic job capturing the vibe of Hong Kong, and it's a city you actually want to explore. One of the best parts of Sleeping Dogs is the hand-to-hand combat. It's like a martial arts movie come to life. You're throwing punches, countering moves, and using your environment in the coolest ways. You can slam enemies into fish tanks, toss them off balconies, and even use random objects around you to gain the upper hand. So, if you're into action games with a great story and a city that feels alive and vibrant, Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition is absolutely worth checking out. Sifu. What's crazy about Sifu is how brutal it can be. I mean, you're this martial artist out for revenge, and the combat system is so fluid, but also super challenging. It's not the kind of game where you can just mash buttons, but the real twist? The aging mechanic. Every time you die, your character ages, and it changes how you play. As you get older, you hit harder, but lose health. It's such a clever way to keep the tension high. You're constantly trying to balance staying alive while still taking risks. There's this internal struggle like, do I push through this fight now, or should I retreat and try again later? The more you age, the fewer chances you have to finish your mission, which makes every death feel meaningful. The level design is awesome too. You're moving through these beautifully crafted environments, from neon-lit nightclubs to serene temples. Each one feels like a love letter to classic kung fu movies. The game's art style is sleek and minimal, but the environments are so detailed, and the atmosphere is on point. You really feel like you're living out this martial arts epic. What I also loved is how seafood doesn't hold your hand. The difficulty can be punishing, but in a way that makes you want to get better. It's all about learning from your mistakes and coming back stronger. Each time you die, you're learning the enemy's patterns, figuring out new strategies. It's got that Dark Souls vibe where every failure is a lesson. If you love a good challenge and want to experience some of the best hand-to-hand combat in gaming, Sifu is a must-play. Outer Wilds. This game is all about exploring the unknown, and it really leans into that feeling of pure discovery. You're a new astronaut, part of this tiny space program from a small, cozy alien race, and you're launched out into space with nothing but your ship and a lot of questions. And I mean a lot of questions. What's so cool about Outer Wilds is that it doesn't handhold or push you in any specific direction. You have this whole solar system to explore, and every single planet is like its own character. Each place is unique, with strange environments, hidden stories, and mysteries that just pull you in. You land somewhere, start exploring, and immediately find yourself getting wrapped up in something unexpected. The sense of wonder in this game is unreal. I mean, you'll be cruising along and suddenly you're uncovering secrets that are far bigger than you'd expect. There's something magical about wandering into these ancient ruins or discovering strange technologies from a long-lost civilization. And as you piece things together, you start to understand that every single mystery is connected, which is honestly so satisfying. One of my favorite things is how much Outer Wilds makes you feel like a real explorer. There's no combat or big flashy objectives. It's all about curiosity. Every time you figure something out, it feels like a little victory, and the game respects that you're smart enough to connect the dots on your own. Another thing is the time loop. It's such a unique mechanic that gives the game this sense of urgency, but without being punishing. Cyberpunk 2077. I know it had a rocky start, but seriously, it's a totally different game now after all the updates. The world of Night City is just wow. I mean, if you love getting lost in a huge, neon-lit, gritty open world, this game is perfect. It feels alive, you know? The city's got this cyberpunk vibe down to a T. Dark alleys, giant holograms, futuristic cars, the whole Blade Runner kind of thing. And honestly, I love how the game doesn't shy away from showing the messier side of that world, like the clash of high-tech and low-life. V, the main character, is super customizable too. I spent way too much time tweaking my character at the start, like more than I'd care to admit. But it's fun to play with all the different builds, whether you want to go full-on hacker, cybernetic brawler, or sneaky assassin. Plus, the augmentations, dude, that's the coolest part. You can literally replace parts of your body with cybernetic enhancements. Who wouldn't want a built-in katana arm or optic implants? What's crazy is how the story can change depending on what you do. Like, the choices really feel like they matter. There was this one mission where I was trying to decide whether to help these corporate types or betray them, and man, I was stressing over it for days. I couldn't stop thinking, what if I made the wrong choice? But that's the fun of it. There's no right or wrong answer, just how you want to play it. I will say the driving can be a little wonky at times, but honestly, once you get used to it, it's not that bad. Plus, the city's so massive, it's fun just cruising around, taking in the sights. Lies of P. It's one of those games that takes a classic story and flips it into something totally unexpected. I mean, a dark, twisted version of Pinocchio? Who saw that coming? From the moment I started playing, I knew this wasn't going to be the fairy tale we all grew up with. Instead, it throws you into this grim steampunk world where everything feels eerie and dangerous. The atmosphere is on point. There's this constant tension in the air, like you're never quite safe, even when you're just walking through a quiet alley. The game wears its inspirations on its sleeve, and if you've played Bloodborne or Dark Souls, you'll feel right at home here. The combat is that familiar, deliberate style, where every swing of your weapon matters, and timing is everything. But Lies of P adds its own twist with the weapon customization system. You can mix and match blades and handles to create your own combos, which gives you a ton of freedom to experiment with different builds. It's honestly so satisfying when you find a combination that just clicks with your playstyle. The enemies are no joke. Each one feels like a real threat, and you can't just rush in and expect to button mash your way through. You've got to be patient, learn their patterns, and strike when the moment is right. And the bosses? They're some of the most intense encounters I've had in a while. Every time I thought I was getting the hang of things, a new boss would come along and completely wreck me. But in the best way. It's that feeling of frustration followed by pure joy when you finally take them down. If you're into challenging combat, Lies of P is definitely worth your time. Wolfenstein, Youngblood. It's a bold step into a new chapter, where you step into the boots of Jess and Soph Blazkowicz, twin daughters of the legendary B.J. Blazkowicz, as they carve their own bloody path through a Nazi-controlled Paris in the 1980s. The heart of the game lies in its co-op mechanics. It's built for teamwork, and the dynamic between the two sisters translates seamlessly into gameplay. Whether you're playing with a friend or teaming up with an AI partner, every encounter feels like a high-energy tag team of destruction. Coordinating attacks, sharing resources, and revving each other up with pep signals makes every fight feel alive and engaging. The gunplay is classic Wolfenstein, fast, punchy, and packed with variety. From the satisfying kick of a shotgun to the futuristic zap of a laser gun, there's a weapon for every playstyle. Upgrading your arsenal adds a layer of customization that lets you tailor your tools of destruction to your liking. It's not just about shooting, it's about shooting with style, precision, and that signature over-the-top flair. The structure of the game feels different in the best way possible. It's more open-ended, encouraging exploration, and giving you the freedom to tackle objectives in your own order. Paris isn't just a backdrop. It's a sprawling playground filled with hidden paths, enemy outposts, and countless opportunities to experiment with your approach. It's all about finding your rhythm, whether you're charging in guns blazing or sneaking around. Amnesia: The Bunker. We all know Amnesia is famous for its psychological horror, but this time, it's different, more intense, more claustrophobic. You're stuck in this grimy World War I bunker, and it's basically pitch black most of the time. Just that alone is enough to make you feel tense. I found myself constantly worrying about running out of light. I don't know about you, but for me, that's one of the worst feelings in a horror game, when you hear something but can't see it and your light is flickering. Yeah, no thanks. Speaking of the light, the whole mechanic with the hand crank flashlight is brilliant. It's one of those simple things that amps up the dread. You're cranking that thing as fast as you can, praying the batteries don't die while you hear something creeping up behind you. I legit felt my heart rate spike a few times. It adds this layer of vulnerability, but it also gives you just enough control to not feel totally helpless, just mostly helpless. The big difference in the bunker is how much freedom you have to explore. It's not as linear as the previous Amnesia games. You're given this bunker to explore at your own pace, which sounds nice, right? Except there's a monster roaming around that's hunting you the entire time. So, yeah, you're free to roam, but good luck trying to stay calm while something's lurking in the shadows. The bunker itself is like this living, breathing nightmare. It's got that eerie, abandoned vibe, but it's also full of details that make you feel like you're uncovering something dark. The atmosphere is thick with dread. Everything from the sound design to the way light barely reaches down those narrow corridors. The Evil Within 2. If you've played the first one, you know it's already got that creepy, nightmarish vibe, but this sequel, it takes things to a whole new level. How it blends open-world elements with that tight, survival horror tension. You've got more freedom to explore this time, but it never feels too safe. Even in the open areas, there's this constant sense of dread, like something could jump out at you at any moment. And trust me, the game knows how to play with your nerves. The enemies in this game are wild. Some of the creature designs are just pure nightmare fuel, like that multi-limbed thing guardian. Still gives me the creeps just thinking about it. And don't even get me started on the bosses. Every encounter feels intense and nerve-wracking, especially since resources are still pretty scarce. You've got to be smart about when to fight and when to sneak around. The open areas give you more options for how to approach situations, which I really liked. Sometimes it felt satisfying to sneak by enemies unnoticed, and other times you'd have no choice but to go guns blazing. The game forces you to be adaptable. The story is solid too. It's got that psychological horror aspect that really messes with your head, but it also wraps up a lot of the loose ends from the first game in a satisfying way. And I've got to say, there are some twists in there that genuinely shocked me. It's not just about the scares. It's a good narrative experience too. And of course, the crafting system is back, so you can make your own ammo and gear. Dying Light. You know, there's something about Dying Light that just pulls you in. It's not just another zombie game. And trust me, I've played my share. What really grabbed me when I first picked it up was the way it mixed parkour with zombie survival. I mean, You're not just running from zombies, you're vaulting over fences, climbing buildings, and pulling off these crazy fluid parkour moves that make you feel like you're actually there. It's like the city is your playground, but with the constant threat of the undead breathing down your neck. That mix of freedom and fear, it's exhilarating. And the city of Heron? It's gritty, dirty, and oozing with atmosphere. During the day, you're mostly dealing with the slow, lumbering zombies, and you start to feel kind of bold, like, yeah, I got this. You're scavenging, crafting weapons, taking out a few zombies here and there, feeling pretty good about yourself. But as soon as night falls, it's like the game flips the script. You go from being the predator to the prey. Those volatiles, they still haunt me, honestly. The first time one spotted me, I panicked and barely escaped. The night cycle adds this whole other layer of tension, making you think twice before staying out too late. One of my favorite things, though, is how the game encourages creativity. You're not just limited to using guns or blunt objects. No, you can modify weapons, throw firecrackers to distract the undead, or set traps. I remember finding a baseball bat and modding it to electrocute zombies. The Order 1886. I know it got mixed reviews when it came out, but honestly, I think it's super underrated. It's like every single thing from the cobblestone streets to the smoke-filled taverns feels alive. You can really see how much love went into building that world. The steampunk vibe is also really cool. You've got this mix of old-school Victorian aesthetic with futuristic tech, like those crazy weapons that Nikola Tesla himself designed. The thermite rifle, for example, is just so satisfying to use. You shoot clouds of thermite at enemies, and then light it up with a flare, setting everything ablaze. It's so over the top, but in the best way possible. And the story? It's actually pretty engaging. You're part of this ancient order of knights tasked with keeping the peace in London, but things get real complicated, especially with the introduction of half-breeds, like werewolves, and other supernatural threats. Plus, the way it blends history with fantasy, that was a fun twist for me. Sir Galahad, the main character, has this gruff, no-nonsense attitude that really pulls you into the whole mystery and intrigue of the game. I liked how he's conflicted, dealing with betrayal and questioning everything around him. It gave the game more emotional depth than I expected. The gunplay is solid too. It's not a massive, open-world shooter, but for a more linear experience, the mechanics work great. Each weapon feels unique, and the cover system is smooth. And those cinematic quick-time events, I know some people aren't fans of QTEs, but here they blend so well with the action. It feels more like you're playing through a movie. Titanfall 2. If you haven't jumped into this game yet, you're in for a treat because it's one of those rare shooters that nails everything from movement to story. You're not just running and gunning here. Titanfall 2 turns you into a parkour expert with wall running, double jumping, and slides that let you weave through the battlefield like a pro. The controls are smooth, and once you get the hang of it, it's hard to go back to other games. The map designs are built around this movement too, encouraging you to think creatively about how to get from point A to point B. There's something so satisfying about stringing together a perfect series of moves to outmaneuver enemies, and every match feels like you're pulling off action movie stunts. And then there are the Titans. If you ever wanted to pilot a giant mech, Titanfall 2 makes that dream come true. The game balances your time between playing as a pilot, the fast, agile soldier, and then calling down your Titan, which adds this completely new layer to the gameplay. Titans are powerful, heavy-hitting, and give you this awesome sense of being a walking tank. But it's not just a button mash fest. Every Titan has unique abilities and weapons, so there's actually a good bit of strategy involved. One thing that really stands out in Titanfall 2 is the campaign. Now, I know campaigns in first-person shooters can sometimes feel like a warm-up for multiplayer, but here it's a full experience on its own. It's well-paced, exciting, and even throws in some surprises that keep things fresh. Cana Bridge of Spirits. From the moment I started playing, I was just blown away by how stunning everything looked. It's like stepping into a Pixar movie, but you're in control. The art style is so vibrant and colorful, and the way they bring this magical world to life is just mesmerizing. Every detail feels like it was handcrafted with so much love, from the lush forests to the little creatures, the rot. I mean, those rot are just adorable, right? They're like these little black, fluffy creatures that follow you around, and they're not only cute, they're super helpful too. The gameplay, though, man, that's where it gets really fun. It's got that action-adventure feel, with some Zelda-like puzzle-solving and exploration. The combat is super smooth, and the combination of your staff attacks and the rot helping you out is such a cool mechanic. I loved how you can use the rot to distract enemies or empower your attacks. And the way the game gradually gives you new abilities keeps things fresh. Plus, those boss fights, some of them are tough, like way tougher than I expected. They really make you strategize, which is a nice surprise in a game that looks so cozy on the surface. And speaking of cozy, the world is just so nice to explore. The puzzles are really well designed too, not too hard, but they make you feel smart when you solve them. I remember one where you had to use the rot to move objects around and align things just right, and it was just the perfect balance of challenge and satisfaction. Infamous Second Son. It's such a great pick when looking back at favorite games, especially after all these years. It's one of those games that might not always get mentioned in the big best-of-all-time list, but for those who played it, it really leaves a lasting impression. The game came out as one of the earlier titles for the PS4, and honestly, it still holds up really well. You step into the shoes of Delson Rowe, a rebellious guy who suddenly gets these insane superpowers. What I love about the game is how good it feels to actually use those powers. Whether you're running up buildings, gliding through the air, or just wrecking shop with your abilities, the movement and action feel super smooth and fun. The game absolutely nails that sense of power, which, let's face it, is what we're all here for in a superhero-style game. Seattle is the backdrop for all the action, and they did such a good job with the city's vibe. It's not a carbon copy of the real Seattle, but it's got enough personality to feel alive, and the way the environment changes based on your actions is a nice touch. That whole dynamic, where your choices matter, whether you want to be a hero or lean into a more destructive, rebellious path, adds a layer of replayability. And honestly, both paths are equally fun. Infamous Second Son really nails that feeling of freedom, and the pacing keeps you engaged from start to finish. It's one of those games where you can easily lose hours just exploring, testing out your powers, and getting into epic showdowns with the game's enemies. Red Dead Redemption. Even after all these years, it's one of those games that still holds a special place in gaming history. It's more than just a cowboy game. It's a deep, emotional journey set in the fading days of the Wild West. You play as John Marston, a former outlaw, trying to leave his past behind. But of course, it's never that simple. The game's world, story, and characters are all top tier, pulling you into this incredible, open-world experience. The gunplay is smooth, with that satisfying dead-eye system that lets you slow down time and pick off targets with precision. Whether you're involved in epic shootouts or quick-draw duels, the action feels cinematic and intense. But it's not all about combat. You can spend just as much time exploring, engaging in side missions, or even playing mini-games like poker and horseshoes. The story is also a huge draw. John Marston's journey is one of redemption, family, and loyalty, and it's so well written. The characters you meet along the way, from outlaws to lawmen to settlers, are all memorable and feel like they're part of this living, breathing world. You get attached to these characters, and by the end, you're really invested in John's fate. The emotional weight of the story is one of the reasons why this game is still talked about as one of the best. The ending, without spoiling anything, is one of the most impactful and talked about conclusions in gaming. It's the kind of story that sticks with you long after you've finished it.